Russia has crossed every line of humanity there is, and Ukraine has had enough. On November 3rd, Putin's drone unit carried out one of the most barbaric attacks ever. Russia slaughtered an elderly couple and their small dog while they were trying to walk to safety. This was despite the fact that the couple was waving a white flag, indicating that they were not combatants. This act of pure evil was met with a counter that was instant, brutal, and historic. Ukraine responded by unleashing a barrage of missiles and drones, destroying one of the biggest drone factories Russia has, and also hitting Russian refineries and major power plants. Ukrainian strikes are now getting so deadly that Russians have already reported 250 power outages in just last 7 days. Hundreds of thousands of Russians are without power or heating. As winter approaches, this is the first winter where not just Ukrainian drones, but also Ukrainian missiles are responding to every war crime Putin commits. That's why Kremlin is now getting really worried that their 3-year reign of terror is officially coming to an end. So let's start from the beginning. On November 3rd, Ukraine released a piece of footage that stunned the world. Even in a war full of horrors, this was different. In a small village in Kharkiv, an elderly couple finally decided to leave their home, the place they built their entire life around. The reason for this, Russian forces were closing in. The man rode a bicycle with their small dog ahead of him, and his wife walked beside him. In man's hand was a white flag, a universal symbol that they are civilians, not combatants. This was meant to protect them, but it didn't. From the long grass beside the road, a Russian explosive drone waited while its operator watched the live feed. As the couple approached, the drone rose silently and darted straight toward them. Then an explosion. The white flag flew out of man's hand, landing in a nearby field. When the smoke cleared, the man laid lifeless on the road. His dog, even loyal in the chaos, twitched and bled beside him. Moments later, his wife walked up to his body, but before she could reach him, another drone appeared. In the video, realizing what was about to happen, she started praying and making a cross sign. Then came the second blast. The video ends there. 2 lives gone, a home empty, and a dog dead besides its owner. When Ukrainians released this footage from their reconnaissance drone, the world was shocked. Human rights organization called it barbaric. Politicians from around the world condemned it as pure evil, and even the United Nations, where Russia sits as a permanent member of the Security Council, labeled it as a potential crime against humanity. A white flag was supposed to mean safety, but to Putin's drone units, it meant nothing. This is when Ukraine responded, and it went after the one thing that Putin cares about the most, his drone factory. That's the clip you saw at the start of the video. But what you didn't see was that there was so much ammunition in this factory that there were multiple blasts after the initial strike. Take a look. Music, music, laughter, music. According to Russian media, over 1,000 Geron 2 kamikaze drones were destroyed in the strike on the Donetsk base. The strike involved both Ukrainian missiles and strike drones. Because of this, a ammunition depot in the base was destroyed. A fuel storage facility was destroyed. A UAV launch site was destroyed, and power supply nodes were damaged. On top of the initial 100 drones, there were also 1,500 warheads that were completely lost to the dust. You guys saw the blast in the clip. This was a big base, but nothing in the vicinity survived. For Putin, the most scary part wasn't the fact that he lost his factory. The most scary part was that it wasn't just a Ukrainian drone. Now, even Ukrainian missiles are flying towards its base unimpeded. This is something that was not happening last year, and now this is becoming a daily occurrence. On top of that, it's not something that's happening just inside Russian-occupied territory. It's also happening deep inside Russia. That's exactly why Russian cities are now going dark, and they're staying dark for days. Just 2 nights ago on November 4th, the Vladimir 750 kilovolt substation was damaged by Ukraine for the 3rd time. This is a crucial power station that supplies power directly to Moscow, and this is exactly why Ukraine is attacking it. Here's the aftermath. Music. Now, of course, we can all debate the legality of these attacks, but I want to make one thing clear. Ukraine is not carrying out these attacks preemptively. They are responding to Russian attacks on Ukrainian power stations, and they're making sure that Putin feels the pain. That's why Ukrainian strikes are happening to power stations that are supplying power to Moscow. Take a look at this map. Look at all the power stations that Ukraine has hit in just last 30 days or so. They are all around Moscow, and more importantly, the power from them is going to the capital city. The number 3-1 Vladimir won well. Ukraine just headed on November 3rd, as we just covered. That means it has been hit 3 times in just 30 days or so. And then at the bottom we have the Furlough power plant. Then Ukraine hit same night as a Vladimir power plant. The goal of all these attacks is to slowly choke the electricity that Putin receives. So Putin and his cronies start to fuel the pain that Ukraine has been feeling for last 3 winters. That's why the very next day Ukraine used the Flamingo cruise missile to hit the Russian power plant, one of the biggest. Russia has the oral thermal power. The message is clear. If Russia doesn't abandon its plans to destroy Ukraine's energy system, then Russia's systems will be destroyed too. We also have footage of Ukrainian drones paying a visit to some friends they have in Russia's biggest refinery, Novograd. This is very important to Moscow because it processes around 18 million tons of Russian oil every single year. But on top of that, it refines roughly 30% of gasoline that Russia consumes domestically, 1/3 of the whole nation's consumption. That's a huge deal, and that's why Ukrainian drones had quite a bit of fun in the city. Just take a look at the pictures of the aftermath from Novograd. Deep blackouts in the city, hard times for Russia as Ukraine slowly dismantles the electric grid across the country. Looking at these pictures, I got to give it to Putin. He's truly rebuilding the Soviet Union in front of our eyes. Russian cities are plunging into darkness almost every single night of the month, just like how they were in the Soviet Union. Now, the same darkness spread to the Russian city named Vladimir. Take a look at this drone footage. What's up? This is where I got to admit a brain fart moment I had, because when I saw Russian channels talking about a Vladimir blackout situation, I thought Russians started nicknaming these blackouts after Putin. But in reality, they were just talking about this city named Vladimir. Nonetheless, though, this gave me a great idea for future videos. We will start calling these blackouts Vladimir blackouts, just to pay homage to Putin himself. Now, I'm betting we're going to be using that name a lot, because Ukrainian strikes are not going to slow down anytime soon. I've already covered that Ukraine itself is going to produce more Neptune missiles and more Flamingo missiles. But on top of that, the UK just announced that they will be giving more Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine after seeing what Ukraine can do inside Russia. Now, for Putin and the second strongest army in the world, it seems Russian air defenses are actually doing more damage to Russian infrastructure than the Ukrainian missiles. Take a look at this footage. From last night, where a Russian air defense missile, instead of hitting Ukrainian missiles, decided to take out a Russian apartment building. Now, as some of you guys may have already heard, Russian forces are advancing and procrastinating, encircled the city like Putin claimed 2 weeks ago. But nonetheless, they're making progress. Slow progress and at a high cost, but it's progress now. Fighting there is brutal. Ukraine has reinforced the front, and Ukrainian forces are trying to push back the Russian advance, going building to building. That's why later today I'm talking to former Navy SEAL Chuck Farr, who actually recently went to Ukraine for 3 weeks to visit the front lines. Well, today in Basics Insider, he'll be sharing with us what he learned on the front lines, and he'll also be breaking down the footage that we get from the procent. Now, as you guys know, footages from war are always very graphic. That's something we just cannot post on